Tutankhamun, the boy king whose name still echoes across the ages. Born around 1341 BCE, he came to the throne of Egypt at the age of just 9. His reign was short, less than a decade, and by the time he died as a teenager, his name had already begun to fade into obscurity. He was a relatively minor pharaoh in life, yet it was not his reign, but what was discovered thousands of years later that secured his place in history forever. In November of 1922, British archaeologist Howard Carter was working in the Valley of the Kings. For years he had searched, funded by his patron Lord Carnarvon, with little to show for it. Many thought there was nothing left to find. Carter was convinced otherwise. Then, after clearing the debris near the tomb of Rameses VI, his team uncovered a hidden staircase. At the bottom lay a sealed doorway bearing royal cartouches. They had found what Carter had long believed existed: the untouched tomb of Tutankhamun. On November 26th, Carter made a small hole in the doorway and peered inside by candlelight. Behind the plastered wall lay treasures glittering in the dark. When Lord Carnarvon asked if he could see anything, Carter gave the famous reply: "Yes, wonderful things." What he had glimpsed would soon stun the world. Inside the chambers were over 5,000 objects, carefully packed for the boy king's journey into the afterlife. There were golden statues of gods, carved alabaster vessels, ceremonial shields and daggers, painted thrones and ornate chariots. At the heart of the burial lay 3 nested coffins. The innermost was made of solid gold, and inside it rested the mummified remains of Tutankhamun. Covering his face was what would become one of the most famous artifacts in history: a golden mask, crafted from beaten sheets of gold and inlaid with lapis lazuli, quartz, and coloured glass. For the modern world, this was not just an archaeological discovery. It was a window into the splendour and beliefs of ancient Egypt, preserved for more than 3,000 years. But fascination soon gave way to fear. Within months of the tomb's opening, tragedy struck. Lord Carnarvon, Carter's patron, was bitten by a mosquito. The wound became infected, and he died of blood poisoning in Cairo in April 1923, just weeks after the tomb was opened. Newspapers around the world seized on the story, proclaiming that the long-dead pharaoh had struck down those who disturbed his eternal rest. The press called it the curse of the pharaohs. The stories multiplied. At the very moment of Carnarvon's death, the lights in Cairo are said to have gone out. Back in England, his pet dog reportedly let out a howl and dropped dead at the exact same hour. Other members of the expedition were struck by misfortune in the years that followed. George J. Gould, an American visitor to the tomb, died suddenly of pneumonia. Arthur Mace, a member of Carter's team, fell into a coma and never recovered. Richard Bethel, Carter's secretary, died mysteriously in his sleep. Even Carter's own canary, according to one story, was killed by a cobra, the very serpent that symbolized Egyptian kingship. And yet there were contradictions. Howard Carter himself lived for another 16 years after the discovery, and many others involved with the excavation lived long, healthy lives. So what was the truth behind the so-called curse? Modern science offers explanations. One theory suggests that the sealed chambers may have harboured toxic moulds or deadly bacteria, lying dormant for millennia until disturbed by the archaeologists. Inhaling spores from ancient air could have caused infections, respiratory illness, or sudden fevers. Another theory proposes that the build-up of gases in sealed bases, including hydrogen sulfide or ammonia, may have poisoned those who lingered too long. But these scientific ideas do not explain everything. Why would only certain individuals be affected while others were not? And what of the eerie timing? The blackout in Cairo, or the death of Carnarvon's dog miles away in England? Were these all coincidences, or did they feed into something more mysterious? What is certain is that the legend of the curse grew far beyond the facts. It reflected the fears and fascinations of the 1920s, an age captivated by the exotic mysteries of ancient Egypt. To the public, Tutankhamun was no longer just a forgotten boy king. He was a pharaoh whose spirit still seemed to command awe and terror from beyond the grave. Today, a century later, Tutankhamun remains the most famous name of ancient Egypt. His golden mask is recognized around the world. Exhibitions of his treasures attract millions of visitors, and his tomb in the Valley of the Kings continues to draw pilgrims from across the globe. In life, Tutankhamun was a minor figure, a boy who inherited the throne in a time of turmoil and died before reaching manhood. In death, he became eternal. His tomb revealed the full splendor of Egypt's golden age, and the legend of his curse still lingers as one of history's greatest mysteries. So we are left to wonder, was the curse of King Tut a tale born from coincidence and imagination? Or was it truly the voice of the Pharaoh reaching out across 3,000 years to protect his eternal rest?